So, like, you're welcome to my YouTube channel, by the way. So, I have known Victor for like a couple of years now, and I I think it was one video when I was talking about core values, and I was like, Victor has to be the one to talk about core values. Why? Because I have, before Victor, I did not see the importance of core values. I was like, those things are just those things you put on the website. The content person or the HR just slap it. And it was always teamwork, collaboration. What are the other ones?
Integrity.
Integrity. I mean, it was always the same thing. And so, but I saw how 3 years or 2 years into when I joined the company, we started focusing on a couple of these things, and we had our first profitable year. Right. And so in my head, and I realized, Kini that we thought is does not connect to money, if we do it well, can help you make money. And so when I was discussing brand strategy, discussing a lot of things, in my head I was like, it's really important that I get to talk to someone who has been able to translate what core values are into money, and see. I'm reading Story Driven by Bernadette Jewa, and she also spoke about how these things influenced Alibaba's expansion. For Jack Ma, I mean, and we have read Richard Branson, and we have read Steve Jobs, and we have read a whole lot of people who now have companies that we respect, and we see that values are an integral part of success.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing all this to say that I'm going to be having a conversation with CEO, managing partner at FourthCanvas, Victor Fatanmi, on core values. I've introduced you, but what's your name?
Far for short.
I mean, so so why did this get important to you in the first place?
Yeah, I think it was the idea of cultures, the idea of families, the idea of the fact that whether they are conscious of it or not, everywhere you have a group of people doing anything together, the best examples, the ones that have gone on to build make the most significant impacts, in terms of like groups of people, have been the ones that consistently lived by a set of values, right? And you would even see that some countries like the United States of America, for example, had written things like, okay, founding fathers, these are the pillars, these are the truths. I mean, whether or not they lived up to those things at different times could be in question. But for the most part of it, the effect of saying this is who we are, and there's this book I just read recently, Your Stand is Your Brand, and it was saying that companies focus a lot about what to do and less about who to be. And I think, but naturally from day one, I kind of always just knew that it's I saw the business so much like a family, in fact, too much in that sense, because there needed to be a balance. My mentor would eventually tell me that, yeah, a family, but you should be a team. And what I took from that is, okay, you know what, we'll be both in that sense. But right from the start, it was almost to a fault that I saw that teams should be not just claim families, right? Because people have been burnt a lot.
Yeah.
Entering places that said we are family, but it didn't turn out that way. So it wasn't so much about the term. I never said, "Oh, guys, we are a family." But mentally, I thought that it should be like a family in which we have things that we agree upon. We're looking out for each other, and I saw the impact of defining those things, and ensuring that everything is catered for. So we want to be together. What's the value that will help us be together very successfully? We are a profitable business. What are the values that will impact our ability to do the best of our work? What are the values that will impact how we serve our customers? So oftentimes the core values will if you have 4 core values or 6 core values or 10 core values, some will cater more to internal interaction, some will cater more to how it affects the customer, some will cater to but they will be interconnected. They will all have a role to play in different sides. Suppose, yeah, but from day one, probably because I was coming from that perspective of, well, I mean, it could be a family.
But it's not the
you
one
know.
because I was in the company at one point. Just since we're not
No, they were not stated at day
we are
one.
not stated, and
But
we're
they were
not
there,
pushing
mentally.
it,
We're
right?
not pushing it. There was some point we started to
but
push
when
them.
we started pushing it,
The
it affected
effects-
everything,
yeah, it
right?
did, it did.
I mean, because for me, I got convinced of the importance of core values by
Nah.
experience.
Yeah, I get that.
Nobody really needed to now tell me that core values are very integral to the success of
Because
a business.
you saw it.
Because I've read, even if I'd read it in books, I mean, that's fine. But I saw is that we started hammering on this. First, it influenced actions, and then it influenced finances at the end of the day. And what I even why I'm even asking is, I kind of like saw this. It's not, nobody taught me, nobody told me. It was more like, so I've read core values. I mean, at least when I started doing strategy, brand strategy, and I've seen like a couple of books, how it is an integral part of like the whole style guide or brand guide and all. But I saw it literally happen. We started hammering on things, then it affected culture first, then it affected actions next, then it influenced the kind of people we employed next, and then lastly, it influenced finances, right? So the company became profitable, right? After like a whole lot of trying to tweak things in our operations. What changed?
I think it was still back to some books which some books is it which advised or advised some book which helped to say there's a strategy, there's the things you defined, but they mean nothing if they don't come to life in everyday conversations. So one of the things we did, which you know about, just saying for the audience, right, which we started to have an annual award on each of the core values, where we say this person was an example of this core value per year, but that's still an annual event. But more about, we're arguing on something and it becomes a reference point. They're like, okay, guys, this is a value for us, right? So it becomes like a constitution when you're saying section 1 said, section 24 said this. They're like, well, wait, I mean, this is a core value. We can't be doing this considering this. So I think that what really changed, and I read it from books, but I practicalized it, which was to see how ensured that we spoke about it more often. We rewarded actions in it. And I think that while the annual award is just one more thing we did differently was just put it out. Do you understand? I'm like, Tunji, okay, that's a good example of, you were speaking about moving from working by yourself and then to being able to like work with others, right? That transition we were talking about yesterday. But you realize that every time you did, there was like a mention that, nice one, okay, that's good, like that idea. So I think that what we started to do was to look out for it, right? And mention it and talk about it in meetings and reward it at the end of the year, such that it went further from being a brand strategy document to a brand strategy document that is being referenced in everyday life. And I think that's really helped. Yeah, right? I think that really helped.
I mean, so to just build, I know that some business people do not think this way, but again, I mean, that's how we operate. It was that I was getting results. I mean, the results were amazing and clients were excited and happy, but the way I was getting results was not in line with our core values as a company, right? I mean, so I was working alone. So at the end of the day, Victor goes, "Wow, this is good. But," and I'm like, what's our business? Like, the client is really, really excited about the product, but we were also very excited about the how. And the more that was built, the more we had like a system to get to do this.
Which made our excellence more sustainable, because collaborative work means that some people were learning from the process.
Yes.
Some people were also contributing to the process.
Yes.
It improved the quality in some way, but more importantly, it helped others grow.
Yeah.
So growth as a core value, openness as a core value, those things were coming to life, by working that way. So we need to be like, no, okay, good results, but
nah. So I mean,
does it affect us on the core value?
One part that I think that we missed when we started is, so how do you even now identify these core values?
Yeah,
because this is like
a very, very
important part of the whole mix.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you,
Okay,
right?
I
Because
can
I
take
mean,
that.
you formed our own then. So,
So
how?
okay.
Like, what are the steps? Now I understand how I get to do it for
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
but you,
What would be my
right?
answer to that?
So
Okay.
yeah.
So I think the first place to start to think about core values is to first understand that generally there's a long set of good values. If you go to Google and type core values, corporate core values, there's a long list of positive, good values, right? But the reason why there's core behind values in this case is that you need to do the job of identifying which of all of this long list of really good values would matter to us the most. One, which of these core values are the most natural to us? Which of these core values will impact us in the long term the most? Do you understand? So it's a case of like, well, you need a mix of those. So at the end of the day, the core values will be a combination of things that from day one, that core value, everybody goes, ah, of course, that's our natural. But we're stating it so that as new people join us, they can see it. And we don't, so that as we're trying to hire people as well, we can confirm and align to that. There will be something on that core value that is not yet, or your final core value, that is not yet your truth. But you're like, while it is not yet our truth, we must be great on this value based on what we want to do, based on what we're trying to achieve. So, at the end of the day, it's about looking at that long list, identifying which of these are deeply core to us naturally. Of course, which also will impact because there might be something that is natural to us, but it will serve us well. So that would not make the list. So it's like, okay, this is natural to us and it will serve us well. One, then this is not so natural to us. But for our goals, for the purpose that we have established, that this business, for which this business exists, which is why, but defining purpose will come before core values, right? Like, why do we exist? What really is the big idea or mission that we're on? So, yeah, it's a mix of the determinants will be a mix of those two things. Now, in setting them, the founders must because the core values must stem first, starting point from the founders, right? Which is that they must investigate what's their viewpoint of the world and what are the values that influence that the most. They must put that on the table. They must then have a conversation with other team members to identify, what are the like guys, let's talk about this. Like what are the things that you think is helping us, right? What are the things that you think we need to help us, right? What are the things that are already here? So, but these are our own viewpoints. We think that so far, as we start to imagine this business, these values will matter. But guys, what do you think? So the leaders need to lead it. So it's like a workshop, right? Leaders lead it, but they take from others. And then we're like, okay, we then start to analyze. These two can be combined in one word. Or you know what, once we have this, it naturally brings this one. So cancel this one out. Okay, how about this? But at the end of the day, what will make that selection of core values easier, or else you end up with it over long list, is to realize that outside whatever you list as your core values, there are still many values that's good values that every human being should behave based on. So it's not a case of like every positive value must be on the list, but it's a case of like what are the most important value that we will hammer on the most, like you said, that we would hold on to the most, knowing that our purpose depends on them. So, but yeah, a good start is that long list, which a simple Google search will bring up a really long list, and then trying to think about which ones are the most natural, serving us well, which ones are maybe not so natural, but we need them to fulfill our goals, and that goals includes profits. That goes includes the purpose, the impact we want to have in the world. That goes includes the brand positioning too, which is like we want to present ourselves this way, which they're all connected. The brand positioning leads to this one leads to profit. So at the end, that could be a good way to start.
I mean, the one I'm going to do is the
Yeah.
technical one. Victor said the founder version,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Technical one means that for us, most times as brand strategists, how we get to do this is it's an integral part of the whole brand strategy process,
Yeah.
right? So during the sprint, we get to tell major stakeholders in the company to tell us the core of how they think the company operates.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is even fundamentally different from what the CEO thinks, right? Because sometimes in the CEO's mind, this is how he's running the company, but for major stakeholders, this is not how you're running the company. So we try to get everybody's voices on the table, and then we now pick. Because now, most times, when something is named, it brings to remembrance experiences, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that someone now calls it, says, wait, though, it's true. This is how we do stuff, right? So
Yeah.
everybody has like 3-3. Usually it's like 3-3 maximum for everybody.
Yeah.
Then we now have it's usually a sprint of about maximum 4 or 5 people. So
Yeah.
that's like 15. Everybody has like, sometimes it's similar, sometimes it's not similar. Then we pick like the top 15, right? And then we now pick like 3 or maximum 4. I try not to allow anybody's core value to be more than 4. But yes, it could be 5 if there is a need to. Because
Yeah.
sometimes having a lot means that you don't have a lot to, you don't have time to
Because it's
spend on building.
core values.
It's core values, it's not values. Like
Exactly.
it's like the ones that control action, the ones that
Yeah.
influence action, the ones that bet
Yeah.
like the other ones. And why this is also very important for me is that I feel that core values are railings. I think last week Victor sent a message because she was trying to prepare for something around the differences between core and brand values. I mean, at the end of the day, we circled back to the fact that core is internal, brand is external, but you can't have
Yeah.
external
Without
without
the
internal,
internal.
right? I mean, so why I'm even saying this is because it's railings. These are the things that guide what we cannot do, what you cannot see us doing. These are I was having a conversation. No, I was not having a conversation. There have been some recent ethical issues around the ecosystem. And a friend was saying that PR and communications cannot help ethical issues. What I mean is that if you are not strong on what your values are, you will just be complicating the job of your PR and
Yeah, true.
communications person, because the person will be having to correct a lot of things that are happening with or without your control, right? And so one good way to even have a sustainable business is the fact that you have core values that everybody believe in and act out of, if that's a word. So so it's not just naming it first, it's also naming something that is natural to you so that you can execute it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So if you are very ruthless and you really do not care about people, make that be your internal core value so that everybody in that company know what they're about, so that someone who cares about people don't enter and start thinking, wait, you people say you care about people, you're now ruthless, you just want to make money.
Or if you don't want to put ruthless, at least don't put the opposite of ruthless.
Yes, don't say you're caring.
Exactly. Just talk about that core value.
So I mean, it's just really important that, because I also know that there are some people who are more concerned about making money than building people,
but
and who
own
are
your truths.
who have money. So I mean, anything that you want to do, just own your truth, right? Because at the end of the day, that's like the only way to. Because sometimes don't shock us. What I mean by don't shock us is,
let's know what to
not
not
expect this and get this from you, right? And I think that's a great place to anchor. Victor?
Final word for me would be modeling is very important. When you guys have now already like agreed on the core values, the leaders need to be exemplary. They need to act those things out, because they will be like, the leaders are the examples of what those core values should look like. Yeah, that'll be the last thing I would add.
I'm waiting for that guy to pass.
This is IT, by the way, in case I want.
Thank you very much for joining us. Victor is very used to shorter videos. Me, I'm not. So
I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this.
So let's go. Please ask questions if you have. There's several other videos around here talking about brand strategy, because brand strategy is also an integral part of forming your core values. There's a process to forming core values. Core values don't just appear, because that's one thing people think it does. You just pick it. No. Is it who you are? I mean, so ask questions if you have. If I cannot answer, Victor will answer. He's the founder. I'm the supporter of founders. So yeah, and have a great time. My name is Okwayemi Olugwemira, and I'm with
Victor Fa.
Have a great time.